Hey guys, it's Laura, Broadway Girl NYC, and bear with me for a sec. I'm going to try to record this on my other phone. Check it out. Whoa, that's a strange feedback loop, but hopefully this will be recorded and I'll be able to post it on YouTube. I'm really excited that you're here with me today. As you can see, if you're watching live or if you're watching later, I put new pink color in my hair. I also have a little makeup on today, which, if you've been following along, means that I'm doing okay. I am not just rolling out of bed to do this broadcast, which I have done in past broadcasts. This is the Broadway Shutdown Support Group. What does that mean? It means whatever you need it to mean. It means I'm here for you. I want the Broadway community that is known for gathering and supporting each other and sharing in a communal experience to still have a place to do that. All of your feelings are valid and welcome. And I welcome you to use the comments to chime in and let me know how you're doing. That includes, first question for the room, who put pants on today? If you got dressed, you're doing something right. You know what? If you didn't get dressed, that's okay too. Joining me today is Janet Dacal, who is an incredibly sweet woman and one hell of a performer. She has a new album out called My Standards, and it is the coolest, best standards album I've ever heard. She's a Latin artist, and you might know her from In the Heights. She was also Alice in Wonderland. Not Alice in Wonderland, but Alice in the musical Wonderland. And she has just been on tour with the band's Visit, and she did Prince of Broadway, and she's amazing. I have known her for years and years, but we haven't talked in a long time. And so I'm excited to check in and see how Janet is doing, and also to hear about this new album, which I should say includes an incredible duet with Javier Munoz. I almost called him Javier Moondance because the duet they do is of the song Moondance. And I do not know how to dance, but I was dancing all over my apartment listening to these Latinized standards. Let's see if Janet is with us yet. There she is. For Janet to call, see if we get connected. Hello, my friends.
Look at your happy hair.
I know. I decided that I needed to see if it was true that blondes have more fun. And I think pink hair.
Oh, sorry. Technical difficulties. So cute. I love it.
I have been listening to your album all morning and dancing up a storm in my head.
That was the hope.
I honestly, when I saw that it was a standards album, I was like, okay, I actually put on a yoga video and was going to have it on in the background. I thought, standards, it'll be just like sort of elevator music-y. And then, nope, it's like I'm going to get the actual dances wrong, but it's like a samba, cha-cha,
No, you're
like,
right on. That's exactly right.
Did you hear me almost refer to your duet partner as Javier Moondance?
I think that should be his new stage name.
I mean, it would be a pretty cool one. Just the fact that, because when you're talking too fast and you combine words, I was going to say Javier Munoz and Moondance. I was chatting with him earlier today, and I'm going to tell you what I told him, which is you have to make a video for that song.
Oh my gosh, that would be a dream.
I felt like I could see it in my head.
Yeah, that would be a dream.
Like a dream sequence from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Did you watch that show?
I did.
That's how I picture it. You guys doing this.
Oh my gosh, that would be so fun.
Once you're allowed to be in the same room together, that is.
Yes, I know.
So how are you, and where are you, and what is this quarantine self-isolation thing meant for you?
I'm good, thank goodness. All is well in my little bubble of a life. When we got word that we were actually in Pittsburgh when the show got shut down. I'm sorry?
Yeah, with the band's Visit.
With the band's Visit, that's right. So since we had been on tour and I'd let go of my apartment in New York. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that didn't even occur to me.
Yeah, so I had my lease was up in December and I started in January. So I was like, perfect. I won't have rent to be responsible for a while I'm touring the country. So then I basically ended up homeless, which ended up actually being a blessing. My honey and I decided to drive down to Orlando, which is where my parents are. And they're both high risk elderly folk with pre-existing health conditions. So it all kind of worked out for the best that we were able to just pick up and drive down here and not have to go through New York at all. But, you know, my heart is with the city. I love the
Yeah.
city so much. I don't even watch local news. We watch like New York updates so we can sort of be in the know and of what's going on there. And we have so many loved ones there. So
This morning I've been really staying inside, like barely going outside at all.
mm-hmm.
And this morning I got up early and I decided I needed to just go for a long walk, and everything I've read has said that it's okay to do that as long as I had a mask, which is basically just a piece of fabric. I'm not hoarding something that could be used by a medical person.
Sure.
I feel like I need to say that I actually checked with 2 doctors and asked if I could donate it, and they said keep it and use it for yourself when you go.
Good. Yeah.
So I put a mask on and I live down in Chelsea, and I walked all the way up to Times Square, and I was there at 8 a.m., like prime commute time, Monday morning. Not a single soul. There were like a couple of people sweeping, but I posted the photos both to Instagram and to Twitter, and it is eerie. It's like, it almost looks like a stock photo that,
Wow.
you know, but behind you on a, you know, like a green screen kind of thing.
Yeah, it's so surreal. And, you know, especially a city like ours that is just so full of people you know, that sort of reminds me, I was in Good Vibrations.
Right.
And we were doing Good Vibrations in the middle of the winter, and there was one really terrible snowstorm where basically Midtown got shut down because of the snow, but we still came to the theater, and it's so bizarre to have no energy sort of running through the streets of New York City. You know, we really do associate those things together, but I'm so happy to hear that people are taking care of themselves and looking out for each other and
really taking it seriously. And, you know, New York is the kind of place that I would expect everybody to just be like, whatever, I'm doing what I want. Like, no big deal. I'm more important or whatever. And zero people.
That's
hopefully
really,
that means the curve will flatten soon.
Yes, hopefully. Scary time. It's like almost you can't believe that we're living through this piece of history. You know, it's like it's such a rare occurrence, and also a reminder that we're so delicate and things like this happen. You know, they do, and we sort of think we're invincible, or that, you know, you read it in the history books, and here we are.
We feel like we're at the end of evolution or at the end of adapting, like, oh, those provincial people who like didn't know what antibiotics were, haha, good thing for where we are. But 100 years from now, people may be looking back at this and being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they didn't have that tab follow to keep from getting COVID-19.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is it like in Orlando? Are people still, is self-quarantining or sheltering in place required there?
They just started a 14-day shelter in place. Stay at home is basically what's happening here now, and that just started on Thursday.
Yeah, because last night, like, Disney World was still open, and I cannot imagine.
Well, it's been closed for about 2 weeks, which is when we got here. And we got here and basically we're going on lockdown, you know, as just starting early and making sure that we're doing, because we drove from Pittsburgh down to Florida, and, you know, you start to sort of process like, well, where is the virus, you know, and you stop for gas and you put gas in your car and you're like, is it on the pump? You know, it's like you have to be so methodical about everywhere you're putting your hands, and traveling not knowing we don't know where it is, so it could be everywhere and
Hmm.
nowhere at the same time. So you just have to be super careful about what you're doing. And so that was a little nerve-wracking, I have to say. Yeah, and just
Yeah.
not knowing if there was going to be gas, because you go into like Armageddon mindset,
Mhm.
like everything's going down and it's all going to be terrible. So it was scary. The drive down was scary, and so we decided to basically self quarantine as soon as we got here, and make sure that we're healthy and that we're okay, and just trying to stay that way.
And your parents are okay?
Yeah, so my mom, all these things sort of happen at the same time. My father actually was, when we got here, had just left the hospital from gallbladder removal.
Uh-huh.
And my mom has recurring pneumonia.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that was basically the main reason why we opted to come down, just to be close to them in case they needed us. Luckily, my brother lives with them and they're in very good care, but just to sort of take the pressure off of him and having to deal with two elderly parents who are both very vulnerable at the moment and with what's going on. So yeah, it's weird. Like, I go to drop things off and I haven't been in the house and they're wearing masks and gloves, and it just, all I want to do is like grab them and pull them close, and it's like you can't, the best thing is to stay away. So we're
So
literally
living with them, you're not like cuddling them.
no, well, we're not in the house. We ended up renting an apartment about 15 minutes away.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, just
So
to make sure we can.
are you like dropping groceries on their doorstep?
Yes, pretty much.
Oh,
Yeah.
I feel like it's so hard being across the country from my family, but I imagine it would be even harder to be like on the other side of the window and not be able to touch
I mean,
them.
well, that's literally what it is. Like sometimes they'll be in the kitchen. There's a window that faces a front yard, and I'm sitting there like
Oh,
just looking at them this way. It's just so bizarre. It's so bizarre. But
yeah.
there's also great comfort in being able to see them and and see them okay. But it's rough. It's scary, and you just I want to keep them in that little glass, and
Yeah, well, I wonder whether there's some weird positive spin on the fact that your dad had just had that surgery, because he already wasn't going to Disney World.
oh no,
He was like already basically going to be in a bed,
yeah,
not going out.
yeah.
And I assume your mom was mostly staying with him. And so like, I don't know, there are all these weird, not that we're ever happy that anything like that happens. You don't want somebody to have their gallbladder removed, but the timing, assuming he's great, if he's past the infection period, like maybe it kept him away from it. We'll never know.
Oh, and also, like, it feels like it was like a sliding door where had his situation gotten bad a week later, he would have been there in the midst of people showing up to the hospital for COVID-19. And then there's more of a possibility of cross contamination or infection that he might be susceptible to. So it really,
I went to visit with her chronic pneumonia.
exactly.
Oh my
So it
gosh,
just,
my heart beating fast. Like, I don't know.
yeah.
Sometimes I get nervous about things that have already happened. Like,
And they're okay, but and given the circumstances, it's a positive outcome, but still a very high levels of anxiety. And I feel like that's sort of like the temperature for everybody. Everybody has their own situations going on, and everyone's sort of trying to operate at this level where unfortunately you have to think of very uh, severe scenarios, but also trying to hold on to what's good and what's positive and what actually is right now. What actually is that they're both at home and they're fine.
and you've got Penny with you.
I do.
Makes me happy.
Yeah, he's been a lifesaver, really.
Will you tell me what it was like finding out that your tour was shutting down? Did you know before, like, were you able to have a bow that you knew was going to be the final bow for the moment? Or did you find out
No,
like can you tell me about that a little bit?
Sure. So we were in Pittsburgh, and we had been, conversations had already started about, um, everything was sort of unfolding simultaneously. So we were getting news every day of updates, and playing the show. And then I think people started to really get more and more concerned as uh, the New York uh, information came in. And so we got to Pittsburgh. We played Tuesday and Wednesday. We would have meetings before the half-hour curtain, just sort of giving us um, information to keep a little sort of self-quarantine happening within the company. So they started by not letting people bring outsiders backstage, giving tours. We couldn't sign any playbills. We couldn't have
I
any.
remember when that was the biggest thing. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, stage doors. This is serious.
Yeah. Exactly. And so they, little by little, they started sort of weeding out the public, and then we would have these meetings where they would update us on what they knew, because they were getting the information and literally like passing it down to us, like no time to, sort of set things up. And, our stage management team and company management team was amazing. They literally turned things around like what seems like within 24 hours. We did the show on Thursday, and we were just waiting for the city mayor to sort of shut down all public performances, and that happened on Friday. So as soon as they got that word, they were like, this is it, you guys, time to pack up and go back to your point of origin, if that's what was part of the contract.
Yeah, so I learned something recently that had never occurred to me, which is that the shows, the productions have to wait for the city to close everything down, because that's the only way that they get the insurance that comes with natural disaster, or, I mean, I guess you call this a natural disaster.
Yeah.
I think the force majeure in the theater, basically an act of God. And I remember in New York, everything was getting shut down, but Broadway was still on, and people were starting to ask, why aren't the producers closing their shows or putting them on hold? And it's because the insurance money doesn't kick in unless it's required by law that they shut down.
Right.
So
yeah, there are so many stipulations that we don't, that production is subject to according to where you are. And, of course, everyone's trying to do the best that they can with the information as it comes in. And so, it's funny how all of those things come to play, and how we never, or as far as I know, nothing like this has even remotely come close to happening. So you're sort of uncovering all of these rules in the midst of the mayhem.
It's a good reminder, I think, that even though that subject particularly does relate to money, I think sometimes people think that a Broadway producer is just someone who writes a check, but there has to be somebody on that team who knows every single rule, even if it's something that hasn't been put into place for 100 years, somebody who knows those specifics. And I feel like I really feel for the producers. I mean, I feel for everybody, including myself, but I also can't imagine for you guys and for all of the productions that shut down like that, even if you did sort of have a sense it was going to happen at some point, that's basically become your family. And to have to just say like, all right, and scatter to the winds without the normal sort of denouement that a production reaches as it comes to its end. How heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's hard. And it's what you're saying. It does become your family. Whether you're in a show, wherever you are, really, those are the people that you see every day, and you are engaging with day and night. It's and on a tour, you're literally this troupe sort of going around the country. And we basically, you don't get a goodbye, but you also know that it's for the best. of everyone in this particular situation. The more we were around each other, the more possibility there may have been that somebody got sick, and then that just, sort of tears through the whole company. So,
especially you, because you're kissing people.
yes,
Dina,
yes.
Dina love.
What was that?
Dina gets some love.
Yes, she does. She does.
So I bet you miss her.
I'm sorry?
I bet you miss her, Dina.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. This role is just, I pinch myself at the fact that I had the opportunity to step into those shoes, or clogs as she wears.
I wish I got you in that part.
Well, hopefully the show will come back after all of this has settled down and it's safe to do so.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's like such a dynamic powerhouse, deep, complicated, hopeful, just very real, human, beautifully written character and play. So it's been really incredible to be able to hang out in Petah Tikva.
Oh, yeah. It's been a while since I've been there. Petah Tikva.
Yeah, you gotta come visit us.
I know. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're speaking in ambiguous enough terms that it doesn't sound like it's off the table entirely.
No.
Like some of them have announced that they are done, like the SpongeBob tour, which is a non-ec tour, and a couple of others there, and a Bronx Tale is just done. But I see my friend Kim, who's watching from Colorado, says it's supposed to be in Denver in August, and by August things could really be different.
Yes. So hopefully, it's hard to say anything at this point because it's all so up in the air. But yeah, our producers and team they're really hoping that that's possible.
I may have to call Oren Wolf, the lead producer, and suggest that you guys do a Zoom performance.
That would be so amazing.
Almost like staged reading, where the only problem with that, though, and I actually have brought this up before on Instagram Live and been told that the music is the problem, because if it doesn't sync up perfectly, it can end up really making the whole thing look bad. And maybe that works better for like a two-handed play.
That's true. That's true.
But maybe that's something that we can get going, is like, see if one of the licensing companies will license two-person plays to be done on Instagram Live on a split screen like this.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Actually, I have a friend who is a playwright, and I know that this is actually something that's happening where people are having readings on Zoom. Yeah, and I think it's wonderful. It's like such a cool way for people to stay creative and fill your time. And I'm going to switch positions here because I was a little uncomfortable, so I'm just going to bring my phone. I wasn't able to figure out how to bring you up on my computer.
Oh, yeah, I don't think you can do Instagram Live from a computer. I've got you
okay.
on, like propped up against this fancy charging station. But yeah, get comfortable. The whole point of this is that it's casual, like come as you are. I did throw a little bit of makeup on today because I was but it's
How long did it take you to have this beautiful pink ombre situation happening?
Well, the part where the pink is, I just put the color in, so it's very dark and like potent right now. But basically, I stopped being able to afford getting highlights. So the blonde grew out, and when it was about here, it started to look less like roots and more like an ombre I did on purpose. And then the weirdest thing happened to me at the end of fall of last year, which was I was hanging out with the pop star / Broadway, sometimes Broadway actor Todd Dacal when he was doing Waitress on Broadway.
Yeah.
And he was like, "You're awesome. Why don't you come on tour with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, right. What would I do?" And he's like, "I mean, seriously, I need somebody to sell t-shirts for me. Do you want to come?" And I said, "Yeah." So I ended up going on this world tour, very whirlwind, like 24 cities in 26 days, sleeping on a bus. But anyway, his hair and makeup person was on my bus, and in the middle of the night one night we were both up, and she knew I'd always dreamed of dyeing my hair hot pink, and she had some leftover hot pink from a wig she made for Todrick, so she just
amazing.
on the bus in the middle of the night. We walked out when we got to the venue, and the next morning.
I love those stories.
It was amazing, and such a, like, I'm on tour backstage
Of
kind
course.
of
Thing to do.
and Todrick is such a he's definitely not a drag performer, but he's somebody who is all about crazy costumes and like expressionist hair and makeup, and and there was definitely it definitely was not a job where they were going to say you need to have a natural hair color.
Oh, that's so fun though.
And so now I just put over the counter like drugstore stuff in it. I put it all over my head, and so the top is sort of pink, but really it just looks more like my natural color. And the bright stuff is just where the blonde hasn't been cut off yet.
Oh, so how long will that last?
This probably will last like 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
It depends how often I wash my hair. Now that I'm not going out, I'm washing my hair less.
I washed my hair for you.
You did?
I did.
Look fantastic. What else are you doing for your quarantine self-care?
Well, I mean, I feel so lucky to be in Florida. That's a big deal, because we take walks every day just to be outside and get some sunshine. A lot of cooking. We're doing that quite a bit.
And cooking, like I can't believe that I've not cooked more in New York City, but it just isn't really part of the culture here so much.
Exactly.
What's the most recent thing you cooked that you loved?
Oh, what did we make? I mean, we're trying to do like different cuisines. Like tonight we're going to have Greek, but we've been really big on cheese plates. That's kind of been like a little bit of a saving grace. But I also find, like, because I'm not as active, like I'm not very hungry very often. So we are eating like 2 meals a day, like a very late breakfast, and then like, it's weird.
That's awesome. I'm eating like 5 meals a day. I wasn't eating anything because the anxiety was getting to me, and now I'm like, I said it at the beginning, like I'm either going to gain 30 pounds or I'm going to lose 30 pounds, and I don't know which one it's going to be. But
listen, there is a lot of snacking going on. That's I think the hardest part. It's like, oh, I have all these amazing things in my cupboard. I must eat them now.
And if you're, I was like, well, I don't know. I better get a bunch of non-perishables because I don't know when I'm going to be able to get, like, how much fresh stuff I'm going to have access to, which means that I have all these things like potato chips and things that are they're non-perishable because of all the preservatives and like salt and stuff. But you know what? If that's what it takes,
whatever it takes to get through.
Right. One of the comments just now, Jeffrey says, I feel like quarantine has us all in the looking glass.
Oh,
which is
to Alice.
A little ode to Alice, yeah. That Wonderland is how you and I met.
That's right. That's
when I came in 2009 to see you at the Alley Theater.
That's right.
Oh man, can you believe that was like 11 years ago?
No.
I can't either.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. And one thing that I've encountered going around the country is how many people love that show. Mm-hmm. It's really something beautiful to sort of experience. And, fans had been coming to the stage door with their playbills and their posters. And every time I see somebody show up with a Wonderland anything, it just really warms my heart.
You're such an incredible leading lady, which is why
thank you.
Heard about the casting for Band's Visit.
Thank you.
And this is I think a little known fact, to borrow a term from my friend Alana Levine, who hosts a Little Known Facts podcast. I got to see, and actually my sister is watching right now. She just sent a couple of waves.
Hi, sister.
you. That's my sister Karen. She and I got to see you sing Lea Salonga's part from Once on This Island.
That's right. That was so fun to do.
So cool. Yeah, it was like a fully staged open rehearsal, I guess. And Leia was still in the Philippines, so you got to sing her part. And they're saying hi. Like I was hoping that you might end up as a replacement in that show.
Well, that's funny. Yeah. So Michael Art and I friends, and we years ago were hanging out, and I was letting him know. Once on This Island is like my favorite musical ever. I just find, like the music. I did the show in high school, and that's when I got turned on to it, and I played Erzuli. So I told him that back a million years ago, and he's like, if we ever get to do it one day, you know. And so I was actually in the middle of Prince Broadway when that reading was happening. Yeah. And so he's like, listen, Leia is signed on to do this, but we have this presentation thing that we're working on. Do you want to come in and like just play Erzuli? And I was like, are you kidding? So that was a really amazing, beautiful sort of full circle moment to live in that for just a little bit. And, you know, it's just a beautiful production, and everybody was so wonderful. And just that music is just the most joyful, heartfelt, heart-wrenching. Yeah.
I made that this afternoon. I feel like that's it's a little bit overcast here, and I feel like that's a sort of, and it's such a like life springs out of darkness.
Yes.
Story. So that's a good one for this afternoon.
I feel like it's always a good one.
It is, but there's so many, and like I feel like, you know, I wake up and I'm like, what do I feel like listening to? And I have 3 or 4 albums that I just tend to turn on. Basically, it's Waitress. I listen to Waitress almost every day, and then I'll just find a. Are you a Spotify person?
I do Apple Music.
Okay, so I don't know if Apple Music does this, but Spotify, it's like, here's your daily mix made just for you.
Oh, nice.
So I get 5 different daily mixes, and one of them is usually a bunch of show tunes, and it's stuff that I have recently listened to and stuff that their algorithms have determined I would probably want.
Are they pretty on?
Yeah, they're pretty on. Every once in a while, they'll throw in one of Sarah Bareilles' like commentary tracks, explain what one of her songs means. And I'm like, this is gonna help me get out of bed. It's interesting, but it doesn't belong in
Right.
We have a comment that says, what about Janet's My Standards?
Oh.
Well, I've already listened to that 4 times today, but it is always in the cards. It's really so good, Janet.
Thank you. Such an awesome thing that you're doing. And actually, I owe you an apology because I know you sent me a Facebook message, and that was like in the middle of everything happening. So I'm so glad that we were able to like make it work.
Oh, me too. Yeah. I mean, I sent out a message to a lot of people that very first day, that Thursday when all of Broadway shut down. I just kind of panicked and was like, what in the world, one, am I going to do? And then number 2, what in the world can I do to take my skill set and apply it to the situation? And my thing has always kind of been mama bear to all the fans, and being able to sort of like, I sort of straddle the line between, like, I'm sort of halfway between the 4th wall, where I'm sort of industry, but mostly I'm just like a lover of the industry and of the art form. And so I thought, and my default to positivity and support, and I thought, we just need a safe space, and if I can moderate that safe space, then that'll hopefully be helpful. And
it really is. It's so wonderful, and you know, people need a place to go and a thing to do, and this is such an uplifting, beautiful way for the community to stay connected and not feel like we've all sort of dispersed into the ether and nobody knows where anyone is.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a powerful medium.
So many people are doing things that I'm now like hesitating to reach out to people because I don't want, I feel like everybody's getting asked to do so many Instagram lives and Zooms and, you know, contribute to online stuff when we're all in a sort of national state of grief and mourning and confusion, and some people are sick. And I don't want to feel like I'm imposing on anybody, but, you know, like it's crazy times, and we'll just see. But if you think of anybody, you can message me later. But if you think of anybody that you think would want to do it and wouldn't feel imposed upon,
No, of course. Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, people, everybody's sort of going through their process with this, and some people are up to it and others don't feel like they're quite there, and it's all okay. You know,
yeah.
there's no right way or wrong way to be. It's all very real, and everyone processes things in their own way. And so,
Is your album available everywhere now?
yes, it's on all digital platforms. It
Amazing.
is. Yeah.
My standards.
My
So,
standards. That's right.
really danceable.
It is. It is. And you had asked prior about how the song choices came to be.
Oh yeah.
So after Wonderland, I'll give you a little backstory. I moved to LA, and I was like dying of creative thirst there. And I made a friend who was also quite a deep lover of Cuban music. And so we got to talking about, you know, our love for both genres, and we came up with this concept. And so it kind of had been sitting in a little vault in my mind for about 4 or 5 years. And when the opportunity to go on the tour came up, I thought, well, this would be a perfect chance to sort of get the music out in the world.
Yeah. They let you sit at that merch booth.
They did. And so, you know, literally a month and a half before, I sort of scrambled to put this Kickstarter campaign together, and it all just sort of came together miraculously, really.
Oh, I see that.
Yeah. And so I had musicians in it did. I had musicians in LA, in Miami, in New York City. My mixing engineer was in Mexico. My niece, who lives in Australia, recorded a song with me. So I took her vocals from Australia and we mixed them. It was insane. It was crazy.
You could make this album you could make an album during the quarantine. You don't
You
actually have
totally, well, what's hard is like, yes, if you have an at-home studio, you can totally make an album during the quarantine.
Is there any money left in the Kickstarter to do that video?
Unfortunately, not. Not. But hopefully, like, you know. Well, if anybody's willing to take that on, I'd be more than happy to have a conversation about it.
If only the status of the world was not so crazy right now. Every year, all year, I like get myself to the end of April because I know that finally, once the Tony nominations happen, I'll have some income.
Yes.
Because I always layering like 3 or 4 jobs on in the 6 weeks between Tony nominations and the awards. And now I'm like, oh no, I don't know what I'm going to do. So suffice it to say, I'm not in a position to produce your music video right now, but let's definitely keep in touch about the possibilities.
Oh my goodness, it's so fun. And Happy was so awesome. I asked him to do it and he was like, absolutely, yes, of course. And you know, it's just so great always to spend time with, that's basically my family in New York City. So it's just awesome to be creative together and spend some time, and that voice is so delicious, and it just was such a perfect match for the song. But you know, I grew up listening to Cuban music at home, and I love jazz, and so in my mind it made perfect sense that these two genres would work well together. And with my friend Carlos, he came up with the arrangements, and he did Don't Mean a Thing first, and I sort of explained to him what I was sort of hearing, and he played a demo for me that he put together in no time. And I was like, oh my God, you're in my head. Like, you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And then we just started like making lists of songs that we thought would fit in this sort of mixed styling. And I'm so happy with it. I can't even tell you, it's like it really is. It's a miracle to me that it exists in the world and not in my mind, body, and soul.
Well, it's available on all the streaming platforms, and it sounds like it's available as a CD too.
It
And
is.
I always recommend supporting the artist directly as often as possible,
Thank
because you
you.
can listen to it nonstop on Spotify, and if you know, and but the amount of money that an artist gets from a stream on Spotify is so negligible that you basically have to be Taylor Swift in order for that to make the artist any money. So if you are able to, I highly recommend that you purchase the album, whether you buy a hard copy or whether you buy a streaming, like a digital copy. And if you have, Janet, if you have like, is all the information on your website about how people
Yes.
get that, and remind people of your website?
Yeah, you can just go to janetdacal.com, or if you follow me on any of the social stuff, there's a direct link to Ghostlight Records where you can, yes, where you can download the album and purchase it that way as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I was going to say we're about to get kicked off of Instagram, but we're not because we just restarted. But I think it's about time to wrap up anyway. I just want to see if anybody has any last minute questions or comments. We did have someone who says they'd love to buy the album on vinyl if you make it available on vinyl.
You know, my brother was saying just because of the nature of the sound of the music that it should be on vinyl, and that's definitely something I'll bring up to the Ghostlight. Yeah.
We have a comment that says, in all caps, "I loved you as Carla in The Heights. Wish you would have made it into the movie."
Oh, thanks. Thanks.
I love that character.
She's the best.
I know. And then you came back and you played
right.
Nina.
I played Nina.
You played Nina. I knew which one it was. I just just got confused. But yeah, let's see if we have other comments. Jeremiah says your album is so good.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
And I guess I lost a lot of the early comments because Marshall Mabry before it says the two of you are so fierce.
Thank you, Marshall.
Marshall is a superstar. You're going to see him on all the world's biggest stages. He's my pick in the future of musical theater draft.
Oh, that's exciting.
I think he just turned 18. He's a high school senior. And I may have to have him on as my guest one of these days because he is just like, you think that I am a ray of sunshine? This child is like the warmest, most amazing ray of sunshine you've ever seen.
We need you.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Janet, you're so beautiful. Are you accepting students for lessons online?
Yes, actually. This is a wonderful time to reach out. Again, any of the social media outlets, you can just send me a note and we'll try to figure it out.
Someone else wants to know about, I can't imagine you'll be able to sum this up in a sentence or two, but about your experience working with Hal Prince.
No words, really. Like, honor, incredible. I mean, my favorite part of the whole experience, and I think for the entire cast, is he would start telling us stories and we'd sit there like this, just like soaking it in, like to hear the man tell the story in his own words was just the most amazing. Amazing. Yeah, he would come to the theater he was at every rehearsal. He would come to almost every performance, and when he got to the theater, he would get on the PA and announce himself by saying, "The Prince is in the building." This was every night. So, and then he would wait for us in the wings and give us a kiss before we headed home. It just really the best. This lighting.
Hearing that. Yeah, is that a ray of sunshine?
That's an actual ray of sunshine coming through my window.
Amazing.
I might be helpful.
Take the opportunity and go bask in it. I don't have that opportunity on this gray New York City day.
We'll share.
I'm outside for the week, so I'm going to stay indoors. But it's so good to see your face and your smile, and I'm honored that you washed your hair for me.
And I adore you. And I hope that you will, when all this is over, one, I hope you will be back on tour. So you will not have to come back to New York right away. But you're not still LA based, right?
No, I'm New York based. Yeah. And hopefully with the that New York has my heart forever.
Yay.
For sure. Yes.
All right. I hope that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say once things clear up, I'm hoping to do a little tour of the album. So you guys should look out for that as well.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to promote the heck out of it and come to as many of the shows as I can.
Thank you.
And maybe we'll do something together in a more formal format when the time comes.
I would love to.
Love to your family.
Thank you.
To your sweetie and to your cast and to everybody who's watching and all of your families. And I mean, there's love is the one thing that the more you give, the more you get. So love forever.
That's right. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing all you do for our community. You are one of our pillars and we need you. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll see you soon.
Bye. Stay safe and healthy.
Bye.